Take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Ephesians 6 verse 16.
Fear always knocks politely before it storms the place. It doesn't kick down the door, it waits for you to unlock it with worry. It tiptoes through the cracks in your scrolling, whispers through breaking news alerts, rattles the locks of your imagination until your thoughts echo back louder than your faith. Tonight, mine came dressed as silence, loud, heavy, suffocating silence. The kind that presses against your chest and convinces you that prayer won't reach past the ceiling. I tried to drown it out with noise, music, headlines, another scroll through the endless feed, but fear feeds on motion. So I stood still. And that's when I heard it breathing at the door. Not in a horror movie way, in a spiritual one. That subtle, familiar pressure that doesn't knock once and leave, but lingers until you answer. I used to think fear was just a feeling, a chemical glitch in the human system. But that night, I realized it's also a strategy. Because the enemy doesn't need to break the door when he can rent space in your thoughts. He's not after your house, he's after your headspace. He'll sign a long-term lease in your imagination if you hand over the keys without worry. Every what if became another arrow. What if I fail? What if the money runs out? What if I'm not enough? They sound like simple questions, but they echo through the soul like thunder. The more I answered, the more the walls went up. One anxious thought stacked on another until I'd built an entire fortress out of fears. Except somehow, I was the prisoner guarding my own cell. I told myself it was logical, responsible, even, to think through all the possibilities. But fear is a master manipulator. It dresses up as preparation when it's really panic in disguise. It tells you you're just being realistic, but it only ever paints worst-case scenarios. Funny thing about fear, it's a terrible architect. It builds fast, but everything it constructs leans crooked. Its walls keep light out and doubt in. And every time the sun tries to shine through, fear rushes to pull the curtains shut again. That's when I realized I wasn't living in my home anymore, I was squatting in my own anxiety. That realization sat heavily. My house hadn't changed, but something sacred inside me had been looted while I was busy hosting fear like an invited guest. I could almost picture it sitting on my couch, feet on the coffee table, eating peace by the handful like popcorn. I didn't shout. I didn't rebuke the air. I just exhaled. Jesus, I whispered, make it stop. That's all I had left in me. Not a fancy prayer. No 12-step deliverance formula. Just a worn-out heart whispering his name because there was nowhere else to turn. And in that breath, everything shifted. The room didn't get brighter, but the darkness lost its voice. The noise in my head began to fade, one anxious thought at a time, until the only sound left was stillness. Peace didn't crash in like thunder, it crept in like dawn, quiet, sure, and unstoppable. The arrows still flew, but they hit something I couldn't see, like they'd been intercepted mid-air. And that's when I knew the shield of faith isn't decorative armor for Sunday mornings. It's battlefield gear for sleepless nights. I didn't win a war that night. I just stopped losing one. That night didn't end with fireworks. There was no angel chorus, no cinematic cue that said she's conquered fear forever. What happened was quieter and far more powerful. I stood there for a while, just breathing. The same room that had felt like a cell an hour ago now felt different. The shadows hadn't moved, but their hold had. I realized I wasn't alone in the silence. Peace was there, alive, tangible, and utterly still. Not the kind of peace the world sells in spa commercials, but the kind that comes only when the Holy Spirit decides to occupy your atmosphere. I opened the blinds. Morning wasn't here yet, but the first hint of dawn painted the horizon. Light had the audacity to show up anyway. I smiled, just a small one, the kind that surprises you because it's real. I whispered, "Thank you." The arrows didn't stop flying. Life didn't suddenly fix itself. But they couldn't reach me the same way anymore. Something invisible had taken position between me and the chaos. Something stronger than panic, thicker than fear, and truer than the lies I'd been believing. That's when it hit me. The shield of faith isn't a prop. It's armor that actually works. It's not just words on a page. It's divine Kevlar for the soul. When fear knocked again, faith answered the door, and fear had no reply. Maybe fear's been banging on your door too. Maybe you've tried to drown it out with noise, with motion, with plans and backup plans, anything to keep from feeling that slow creep of dread that settles in when the world gets quiet. But friend, you don't have to live like a tenant in your own mind. You don't owe fear the rent. Every time it comes knocking, you have the right and the power to send it packing. Not with panic. Not with self-help slogans. But with one name, Jesus. The shield of faith isn't something you earn, it's something you lift. You don't need to understand every verse in the Bible to raise it. You just need to believe that the one who forged it meant it for you. So tonight, or tomorrow, or whenever the silence grows loud again, remember this moment. Remember that peace isn't the absence of problems, it's the presence of a person. Because faith doesn't silence fear. It just refuses to give it the microphone.
You've just heard another faithfully thinking story from the battlefield. If it strengthened your faith, tap like to help it reach another warrior. Hit subscribe and ring that bell for your next dispatch. And if you want deeper dives, devotionals, and armor training, join the Faithfully Thinking crew over on Substack. Remember, faith fights back. Remember, faith doesn't silence fear. It just refuses to give it the microphone. Faithfully Thinking Stories.